Evander Holyfield with an inspiring performance, living up to his word as he guaranteed the victory over Mike Tyson. Holyfield defied the odds and the critics as he stunned the boxing world. And with that, let me reintroduce our special guests. First, here in the studio, the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Evander Holyfield, taking time out from a very busy post-fight schedule that had to be highlighted by a parade through his hometown of Atlanta. And it must be noted that Mike Tyson sincerely attempted to join us here in person. However, circumstances required him to be at home in Ohio at this time. And so by way of satellite from his home in Southington, Ohio, graciously joining us, the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson. Now, in addition, we'd like to welcome a special panel of boxing writers. Ron Borges of the Boston Globe, Ed Schuyler of the Associated Press, and Vic Ziegel of the New York Daily News. All right, let's begin by taking a look back at round number 2, a round that all 3 official ringside judges scored in favor of Evander Holyfield by a count of 10-9. This is a productive and effective round for Holyfield as he counterpunched well and landed some nice shots on Tyson. And really, for the first time in a while, we're seeing a Tyson opponent actually fight back and provide some very hard answers. Evander, first of all, unlike so many previous opponents, why were you not intimidated by Mike Tyson? And tell us also about your strategy at the start of the fight.
Well, you know, as far as intimidation, to be the very best that you could be, you could never be intimidated. And, you know, you learn that through amateur, and as a professional, it should already be instilled that if you go win, you have to make things happen.
And your strategy at the beginning?
Well, you know, the strategy was not to go backwards at all. I kind of felt that in all the fight that Tyson always had, people that went backwards were always in trouble.
And Mike Tyson, you seemed concerned or puzzled at this early stage. Were you?
Not at all, but I didn't remember too much of the fight. We had, me and Evander, I don't know which round it was, perhaps the 3rd round, we had collided heads. We were both leaning, we collided heads. And from that point on, I really didn't know basically anything that happened.
All right, right now, we're going to get into that a little bit later, but let's fast forward and take you to round number 5, in which Mike Tyson was able to bounce back with a solid 3 minutes. In fact, winning on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards with an even round on the other. We go to a highlight from round number 5. For the first time, Holyfield stopped short. Holyfield tagged several times coming in, and a low blow by Tyson made matters worse. At the end of round 5, Holyfield seemed tired as he went to the corner, which raised some eyebrows concerning his stamina, which had been a question mark going into the fight. Obviously, as the fight unfolded, it was not a factor. Mike, were you gaining confidence coming off of round 5 from what you can remember?
I don't remember that round at all.
All right, and Evander, let me switch to you. With that in mind, were you concerned at this point?
No, I wasn't concerned. Mike was able to catch him with some good shots, you know, a good body shot then with the uppercut. But, you know, his hands was fast and he was just getting off good shots. You know, about anything, you have to weather the storm. And he was just, at that point in time, he had the momentum going his way.
Mike, let me ask you a question. You say you can't remember anything pretty much from round 3 on after the clashing of heads. Did you get an opportunity to watch a tape of the fight?
This is my first time viewing the fight.
Okay, so now, as we get back to things, so after 5 rounds, it is close. It's anybody's fight, but the mere fact that a Mike Tyson fight had lasted 5 rounds was somewhat of a story in itself. Tyson versus Holyfield was already almost as long as Mike's 4 previous bouts combined. Let's take a lock at the scorecards through the first 5 rounds. You see the first 3 there. Show you how close it was. Roth had it 29-28 Holyfield. 29-28 Holyfield by Shirley, and Volmer had it 30-29 for Evander Holyfield. And as we take a look at rounds 4 and 5, 48-47 through 5 rounds for Roth, 48-47 for Tyson. By way of Shirley, and Volmer had it 50-49 for Holyfield. Keep in mind, WBA rules, they go to the scorecards on an accidental foul after the end of 4 rounds, which leads us to round number 6, of course, a most pivotal round in this fight. Round 6 was significant, first of all, because of the headbutt that produced a cut over the left eye of Tyson. It was also a round that featured the knockdown. Tyson off his feet for only the second time in 47 fights. The result of a short left hook, and for the first time in the fight, the sellout crowd of better than 16,000 started chanting in unison, "Holyfield, Holyfield." Now, Evander, the intensity level was extremely high. The crowd was delirious. You're concentrating so hard at this point. Did the crowd have an effect on you?
Well, I mean, it's good, you know, that chanting your name, but one thing you have to do is stay focused and not get to the point you get reckless.
Mike, how about you? Did the crowd have any effect?
I don't remember anything.
Well, how disoriented were you here in round 6 due to the clashing of heads, not only from this round, but round 3 as well? How disoriented were you?
I'm trying to remember. What I remember in the fight. There's two things I remember. I remember after the end of the first round, I believe, my trainer asked me, he said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm in good shape. I can fight like this all night." And I remember, I don't know if I even remember being knocked down. I think it was just an incredible feeling. And the only thing I remember, I don't remember going to the locker room, changing my clothes. I remember being in not the dressing room, in the press conference. And at the press conference, that's the only thing I remember.
So were you fighting on instinct?
Listen, I've never been in that predicament before. I don't know what people call it, instinct or anything, but when the fight was stopped, the first thing I said was, what happened? I didn't know what happened. And when we were at the press conference, ironically, I was about to go on and say something, but John Horn had said, "No, Mike, listen to me. Don't say that. Say this, say this." I had thought I knocked Holyfield out. I didn't know that I had lost.
Did you say you thought you knocked Holyfield out?
Yes.
That's unbelievable. You were that confused at this particular point?
I didn't know what happened. I didn't even believe, just by looking at this fight, I didn't even believe that I was fighting this well. I couldn't imagine that. I didn't know what was happening.
What about those chants of Holyfield, Holyfield? They weren't ringing in your ears?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Mike, what is it like seeing this now?
I've discovered some very interesting things about Mr. Holyfield.
Like?
And I just look forward to I believe we have a rematch in March, and I look forward to the rematch in March.
As you look back, were you satisfied with the advice you were getting from your corner?
I don't remember anything. I don't remember them saying anything. And if they told me anything, trust me, it was appropriate advice. It's just that I wasn't coherent enough to take the advice in.
All right, Mike, let's examine the headbutt even closer by taking yet another look at it, since this had a major bearing on the fight and preceded the knockdown. Give us your perspective on the butt as we take a look at the slow-motion replay. Take us through this, if you can. What exactly happened in your view?
I don't remember. I just remember the clashing of heads. We clashed heads, and I didn't feel too well after that. And
Were you at all, were you alarmed by the sight of your own blood, something that you had never really seen or seen much of in the ring?
No, it never bothered me.
Did you think you were ahead after 5 rounds, therefore hoping they'd stop the fight and go to the scorecards?
I don't remember that. I don't remember about being ahead. I don't remember anything.
All right, once again, let's take a look at the slow-motion replay of the clashing of the heads in round 6. Let's get the perspective right now of Evander Holyfield. Here it is again. Evander, was the injury to Tyson a product of the infighting or completely accidental in your perspective?
Well, I think it was accidental. I think what was happening is that Tyson kept trying to come forward, and I had to press the fight forward because neither one of us would give up the leverage. You know, even when the referee said back up, he wasn't going to back up, and I wasn't going to back up because I realized that for me to get back, I was just only getting in the range for him to hit me. So the whole thing, the referee had to do his job because I wasn't going to back up any.
Were you particularly concerned or fearful when the doctor came in and checked out the cut that they may actually stop the fight?
Well, no, not at all. My whole thing is I had envisioned this fight that somebody would go, I felt that I was going to win, and I felt that I would win by a knockout. And I felt that it was impossible for the referee to come in to make a decision like that, or the doctor make a decision like that.
You realize, of course, at the end of 5 rounds, Tyson was ahead on the scorecards, and had they gone to the scorecards because of an accidental foul, Tyson would have won the fight.
Well, I have faith in the Lord, and I realized that whatever happened, I felt that it would be in my favor. And when I went into the fight, I went in 1 round at a time, and not so much. It had to be 3 rounds, 5 rounds. It was just 1 round at a time.
Okay, Evander, after the butting incident and the cut that followed over Tyson's left eye came the memorable knockdown in round number 6. It was the result of a short but most effective left hook thrown by Holyfield, which sent Tyson flying back to the seat of his pants all the way to the ropes. Now, what created the opening for the left hook?
Well, the thing is that, I bent my leg, I stepped to the right, and Tyson was moving into the left hook, and I bent my legs, and I got a lot of power on it. I think I hit him somewhere in the chest, because I don't think I actually hit him on the chin. I kind of caught him in the chest.
What was going through your mind when you saw Mike Tyson on the seat of his pants?
Well, I realized that, watching Buster Douglas say Mike is more dangerous when he hurt. So the approach had to be careful. I didn't feel comfortable to just rush on him and just throw a lot of punches, because I realized that when he fought Buster, every time Buster had him hurt, Mike would take 1 shot and hurt Buster. So I realized that I had to stick with the game plan regardless to how hurt I felt that he was at the time.
Mike Tyson in Ohio, we're going to take one more shot at this here. Is any of this familiar to you? The knockdown in the 6th?
Not offhand. I'm going to tell you something that's so ironic, because I actually as you see there, that wasn't a legitimate knockdown, as Evander stated, because I didn't get hit with. I was a little bit off balance, and I was hitting the chest, and I wasn't hitting the vulnerable place like in the jaw or the eye or anywhere that caused me to fall. I was more off balance than anything, and I went down, and it was called a knockdown. And I believe I said something to the referee. I don't know what the heck I said, but maybe I said, God, I probably thought I knocked him down. I don't know. I was just, God. And trying to explain to you now is really embarrassing, because I really don't know what went on.
So you're saying because you didn't get hit in the face, because you got hit in the chest, in your mind you don't consider it a legitimate knockdown?
No, I'm saying I was off balance, and he hit me in the chest. And if you view it again, you'll watch my legs and watch. It wasn't a hard enough punch to knock me down or anything. So
were you more stunned than hurt, or what? I mean, you did go down.
I went down, but I don't remember anything from a brutal punch. I know I got up and I said something to the referee, but I don't remember even what I said to him.
All right, Mike, so now we're through 6 as we take a look at the scorecards and see how the judges had the fight at this particular point. All 3 judges, Roth, Shirley, and Vollmer, gave Holyfield round 6 by the score of 10-8 by virtue of the knockdown, and there you see the scorecards after 6. All 3 judges had Holyfield ahead heading into round 7, and at this stage, let's bring in our trio of boxing writers to get their thoughts. And Ron Borges of the Boston Globe, how did you have the bout scored at this point?
I had Holyfield ahead at that point. I had given Mike the 4th and 5th rounds, and otherwise I gave the rounds to Holyfield.
Now, we should point out you were the only writer polled to pick Holyfield to win, a chance for you to gloat, Ron. What did you see that so many did not heading into the fight?
Well, a couple of things. First off, I thought Holyfield's punching power was really being underrated by a lot of people. He dropped Riddick Bowe, the only man to drop him. He did it with 1 shot. He dropped Ray Mercer with 1 shot. To me, that was a pretty strong punching guy. And really, other than the Ches fight, this was the first time since he was a cruiserweight that he was going to fight someone really smaller than he was. So if you're going to drop a 250-pound guy, what's going to happen when he hits a guy in the lip who really hasn't been hit for 5 years? And what happened was pretty much what I thought.
Ron, next time try to get the round right, will you? Ed, Schuyler, how'd you see it at the midway mark?
I had Evander up by 3 points after 6, with 2-point round in the knockdown round, of course.
And how about Vic Ziegel? How'd you have it through 6?
I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I had it the same way the judges did. Evander up by a point.
All right, so now we come to round 7, in effect another pivotal round because of another headbutt, but this one I think a little more clear-cut as Tyson came charging in. Let's have a look. Here's the replay in slow motion as Tyson came boring in. He hit Holyfield's head and reopened the cut. You see the reaction by Tyson. Mike complained to referee Mitch Halpern about Holyfield using his head in the clinches. The crowd booed as Halpern called in the doctor to take a look at Tyson's eye. And Mike, your knees buckled after the headbutt with about 15 seconds left in the round. How much trouble were you in at this point?
People close to me had told me that that we had crashed heads and my knees had buckled, and I didn't remember that. I just didn't remember ever being hurt or anything.
Okay, again, let's move ahead to the end of the 9th round as Evander Holyfield continues to rack up the points while Mike Tyson continues to try and solve this dilemma in front of him. We once again check the official scorecards through 9 rounds of boxing. Holyfield leading on the cards after winning the last 4 rounds. Now, Evander, heading into the 10th round, did you feel as if you were in command?
Well, you know, at that time, I realized I didn't have to stand in front of Tyson and struggle for it, push him back. I realized at this time, only thing I had to do is use my jab and just use my boxing skill at this time.
All right, so that brings us now to round 10, another big round for Evander Holyfield. In fact, it was a round in which the fight almost ended. As it turned out, it only prolonged the inevitable. Let's revisit round 10, one of the most exciting rounds of the fight. Evander, your strategy was working well up to this point, jabbing and counterpunching, keeping Tyson away. No reason to change things now, right?
Well, not at all, because the whole thing is that, you know, I'm the fresher person at this time, and the only thing I have to do is really just stay away from it and be able to block the big shots.
And Mike, what were you trying to do here in round 10, if you can recall? Were you just looking to land that one big punch?
Whoa, man, I don't know what I'm doing here. I just don't know what. But this is a really bizarre dilemma right here.
In your corner, were they telling you to throw combinations, to jab, to try to be more elusive? Can you remember that?
I don't remember anything but the press conference.
Were you surprised by Evander Holyfield's strength, particularly his upper body strength?
Listen, I was like this since the 3rd round. I was in that condition since the 3rd round. I can't believe that it lasts this long.
Let's take another look at the final round of the fight. That is round number 11 with the call. You gentlemen here in the studio, all take a look once again. The championship rounds, round 11. And now here we go.
Mike Tyson is a warrior too, and he's still gonna have that natural power. That's the last thing that'll go. Evander's got to be careful here to hold on, but he has fought a perfect fight.
No matter what happens from here on in, we are looking at a sports legend in the purple trunks, Evander Holyfield. Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The Halpern stops the fight, and Holyfield has
I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
mayhem. It is bedlam. Evander, tell us about that finish. You had to be going into that 11th round looking for the finish.
Well, you know, when Mike got off the stool, his legs wasn't there, and I realized if I put a few punches, you know, they should stop the fight. But the point is that I didn't actually think the guy was going to even stop the fight regardless. And you know, I thank the Lord that he did stop the fight when he did, because Mike, a durable guy, and he was going to sit there and take the shots. And you know, this thing it's a sport, and everybody needs the same protection. I just truly believe that if I got hit with some of the shots like that, they would have stopped it a lot quicker. But if they're going to be fair, then they need to be fair on both ends.
Mike, you agree with the stoppage?
Yes, I did.
Now, we should point out Holyfield was ahead on all 3 cards through 10 rounds. Shirley had it 96-92, Vollmer 193, and Roth saw it at this point 96-92. So it's Evander Holyfield by TKO at 37 seconds of round number 11. The so-called bad blood that was generated by Team Tyson prior to the fight was turned into the utmost respect following the fight. It was as sharp and dramatic a contrast as you'll ever see in terms of the pre-fight and post-fight press conferences.
I just want, man, I just want to shake your hand, man. It's been so long. I just want to touch you.
Right on. That's what I want to see. Congratulations. Yeah, we exposed you.
I went in there, I fought and gave my best. I was tired and just kept fighting, and I got caught in some exchanges, and he fought a hell of a fight, and I just commend you. Thank you very much. I have the greatest respect for you. And by the will of God, hopefully we can do it again. Thank you.
A gracious and courteous Mike Tyson. There was so much hype about the animosity between Tyson and Holyfield going in. Mike, was there really bad blood from your end? Tell us. Were you genuinely angry with Evander?
I never personally had any bad feelings with Evander. I just really believe that I'm the best fighter in the world, and he was in my way of staking that claim. And the statement about what he said about that incident about me in prison, that had no validity. I didn't care if he said that or not. The real example was that we had to fight. He did say it, even though he claimed that he didn't say it. He said it, and he should have just been man enough to say it. You know what I mean? But that's hearsay. But I'm just looking forward to March to do it again. That was a very interesting night and exciting night, and I think we owe it to boxing to do it back again in March.
Evander, while you're here, I've got to ask you, prior to the actual conviction, did you say that you wouldn't fight a convicted rapist or defend your title against a convicted rapist, as John Horn and Rory Holloway, his managers, Mike Tyson's managers, contend you did?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
All right, let's bring in our panel of writers and give them an opportunity to fire away at Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. First, Ron Borges of the Boston Globe.
Evander, Mike said right after the fight how much respect he had for you and so forth. But today it sounds a little bit different. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, but it sounds a little different to me. He's talking about you being out of it since the second or third round and surprised that it took that long to stop him. Is it bothersome to you to hear some of this, that it doesn't appear that he's seeing the fight the same way?
No, it don't bother me because, you know, one can be hurt and continue to fight on. You know, a lot of times, you know, I got hit one time in amateur, and I didn't remember anything. I started, when the fight was over, I wanted to get back in the ring. Found out I had a slight concussion, but, you know, at that time, I didn't remember anything. And sometimes you can go on because I think your desire is what pushes you on beyond the pain and what you're going through.
And Ed Schuyler of the Associated Press.
Evander, did you have a sense that something was wrong with him after the third round? Could you tell that maybe he was out of it?
Well, not at all, because Mike was still throwing combinations, and Mike wouldn't let me fight inside. He would grab me at times, and he just wouldn't go backwards. And both of us couldn't get room enough to fight inside, and because he wouldn't go backward, I wouldn't go backward either, so I wasn't going to let him have the advantage, so the referee's work was cut out for him.
And Vic Siegel of the New York Daily News.
I'd like to ask Mike, Mike, since the first punch you threw in that fight put Evander into the ropes, and you landed some good shots the first 2-3 rounds that you must remember, were you surprised that they weren't having the effect you might have wanted?
No, that's not true. I knew he was a durable fighter, but I just knew it would be a matter of time that I would wear him down and the fight would be over. I had never anticipated what happened that night to happen. I'm just happy that we're both healthy and we're both okay, and we can do it again in March.
All right, Mike, we pose these questions now for our three writers. What did this fight do for Evander Holyfield in terms of vindication, plus the effect it had on Mike Tyson and on the sport of boxing in general? Once again, let's begin with Ron Borges of the Boston Globe. Ron?
You know, I think it's funny in a way. It seems like even after this victory, Holyfield's not getting all the credit that he deserves from a lot of people. You know, I mean, people come up to me in the street and say, well, you picked him, but I don't really think he would have won if this happened or that happened or something else happened. So it's kind of odd to me that even after the victory, he almost has to do it again before anybody's going to accept the first victory for him. I understand why Mike would feel that way, but it seems like so many people now still are insisting he beat him twice to get credit for one victory.
Ed Schuyler of the AP.
Well, I think that's true, but I also think that's a natural reaction following any major upset in sports. There's always people say, oh, it was just a fluke. I mean, I think that's just human nature. I don't think he has to beat him again to prove that this was legitimate. I think he wants to beat him again to prove this was legitimate. And as far as hurting boxing, upsets don't hurt boxing. They help boxing, probably.
How about Vic Siegel?
I don't think I'm meeting the same guys that these two people are meeting. The guys I'm meeting were very impressed by what Evander did. The guys, they talk about how good a fight he fought, and they were shocked by what happened. And I do agree, though, that it's terrific for boxing to have a competitive situation.
Evander Holyfield, is a rematch definitely going to happen?
Well, I wouldn't say definite, but, you know, I look forward to it. I'm one of the type of people that pray about everything, and I just don't want to go into the fight too early, because the whole thing is that my shoulders, you know, I do have shoulder problems, but the most part, I look forward to another challenging match with Mike Tyson.
Is it realistic to say that if there were to be a rematch, the month of March would be it?
No, I think March is too soon. That's no doubt. You know, I wouldn't be able to be prepared to go in March.
Have Michael Moore's people contacted you, the IBF champion?
No, no one has contacted me. You know, I just been resting and been traveling and going to different places, doing different interviews, but no, they haven't.
What about retirement? Some people say Evander Holyfield should go out on top. Is retirement a possibility?
Well, that's possible too, but the most important thing is that I want to do what's right, and I want to do what's right for myself.
And Mike Tyson, how about you? The sooner, the better in terms of a rematch?
Well, by deciphering what Evander is saying in New York over there, I could see that this rematch doesn't look like it's going to take place, because he's not speaking to somebody with any zest for a rematch. You know what I mean? I went through the same situation with Buster Douglas. I don't feel confident about a rematch now because of his outlook. I could be wrong, but just by his demeanor over there, by saying it's too long, I believe rematch. Anybody, when I fought somebody and it was debatable and somebody made a complaint about it, I said, well, we fight it back again. When I fought Razor Ruddock, and I was willing to fight anybody right back. What, a month later, 2 months later? But I don't see Evander with that kind of zest ready for a rematch.
Evander, is there anything that you can say right now to give Mike some more confidence that there'll be a rematch?
The only thing I can say is this, is that, you know, I know my body, and it caused me to lose the championship when I fought Michael Moore after I had a tough fight with Red Bull. I got in there with Michael Moore. My arm went out because the fact is I didn't get the proper time to heal up. And, you know, my whole thing is that it's just a point of respect. I have a lot of respect for Tyson. I know that I have to be at my very best as I go in there again. I'm not going to go in there, you know, unprepared and find myself fighting at a disadvantage. I have respect, and if it takes me a little bit more time to get together, then that's what it takes.
Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, we thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate it. And once again, thanks to our panel of